How are we doing today? So, you ever wanted to have an auto tilting plow, but you didn't want to spend all the money for a big hydraulic ram and have all that extra complication and everything and all that setup? Well, if you're crazy enough, you want to save a lot of money, here is your key. This is going to be mostly a demonstration or see it to believe it, see it how it's put together so you can make it yourself. So, I took our inspirations online from really poorly made videos, and I managed to pull this together. So this is a cheap Amazon winch online, like $60 for this. I siliconed it shut so it's waterproof-ish. I made a bracket. I took the wire spool all the way off and then basically cut the cabling, which you can look up videos online how to cut cable yourself. It's very easy. Unspooled it and then actually I re-spooled it on there in two different counter and clockwise ways. So on the top, it's counterclockwise spun around here, and on the bottom, it's clockwise spun. So put the winch either in or out on the controls, it's going to basically, either way, it's going to pull in or out. So what I've done is I've rigged this up. I made a big plate, welded and fabbed this up, and put it through the actual pivot bolts that are actually on the plow base itself. This is just a KFI, pretty standard plow. It's a pro poly, so it's actually a little bit taller than your standard KFI unit. So anyway, I just basically just put new bolts in there, longer ones through this plate. I made stoppers right here that are already drilled into your KFI plow. Welded on top of that nut a big chunk of steel, so when this comes in contact with this, it stops it from rotating. Then here is where it gets complicated. You have two different pulleys that are at two separate heights. This one's for the top half of the spool. This one's for the bottom half to keep both spools separate as much as you can. So I bought 3-inch, 3/4-inch bored pulleys, basically for any keyed shaft. But I just have them on a 6-inch, grade 5 bolt. Bought them new. I have my own nuts. I put them on there. I welded them to the side of this plow frame here. And since this one's so tall and far away from the actual weld, I put a little support stand here to give a little bit more support for when you have the blade tipping or you hit something on the edge or whatever. So I made a first version of this. That's why it's all kind of grooved and kind of ugly. I had to cut it off because it was too weak, but it did work. So the next most complicated thing it took me forever to find, I'll put this in the description, is a spring on the end. This is what failed in the last unit. There was no spring. This cable end was literally right to this loop, which is basically, I don't know, it's these divide in fifths. Yeah, divide in fifths. So it's on the fourth one on this side and the second one on that side. So it's on the pretty much in the outermost portion of the blade. This is direct. Cannot have that because when this blade kicks or trips, the angle changes. The entire angle changes. So you have to maintain that angle. So, well, how I maintain it is you have to put a spring there so it has constant tension. So if there's ever stress from the outside, pushing, the spring takes it and it doesn't bend these over like it did for me. Have to have a spring. So these are actually hammock springs or a swinging bench spring. These are actually rated for 350 pounds a piece. I bought this pair and then another pair that's rated for 500 pounds a piece per spring. And we're gonna try these for now, which this one's really stretched for some reason and this one's not. I just tensioned this now. I just did this morning. And it's perfect. I check tension here. You can grab the plow here. I'm going to trip it. You can see them flex. They're moving. And it works flawlessly. This doesn't come in contact with the gator at all. You can tip it all the way up just like normal. I'm going to kill the battery in this thing in a minute if I keep this thing on. So here's the normal winch control. Hit in. Comes up plenty high because UTV plows go up way higher than ATV plows because of how the frame's set up. And then you can tilt it any which way you want, which is this controller that came with the winch. I just have two terminal leads underneath here, stubbed off with a male and female, so you just plug it in, unplug it whenever. So in, out, left, right, just how you want it to be. Works excellent. So you can kind of hear the winch. It's kind of hard to tell when to stop, but you can kind of, in person, you can really watch the springs, and like when you're so far, it starts to stretch them, as you can see. So that's how you tension it too, which is super slick, because if you ever have a loose spring that's kind of loose, you can just over tighten it on one side, go on the other side, loosen up the two, oh, what would you call those? Cable clamps. You can loosen those up and then pull the tension out of it, and you can get it back to tight again. So you can plow straight or sideways. So sideways is a little bit safer. Straight's a little bit more sketchy because I'm worried about these springs kind of duck walking like this, because all of a sudden that side gets a lot of snow on it, this side gets not enough, and all of a sudden you have this reaction of side to side like this, like crazy, and it won't hold its own. But these cables have a lot of tension underneath them. So I'm pretty confident that it's going to work just as I'm hoping it's going to. So yeah, all you really need is a cheap winch off Amazon with an aluminum spool, preferably the aluminum housing. So when you put these cables on, you gotta make sure that when you wrap them, you know, you have to start the cable end into something, right? Because usually the cable end is pushed through and then looped back on itself. So the cable can't unwind itself if you get to the very end of it. So you gotta actually drill a new hole for doing what I just kind of explained there for the other side, so that both ends cannot come out whenever they're being used. That's like the biggest thing, is this has to be an aluminum spool on here so it can penetrate it. And then the cabling on it, you just got to literally cut your lengths down. I mean, run it, wrap it about 4 times around your spool, run it to your position, put it around here, get probably about 10 inches of slack back, or about 8 inches of slack back, and then cut your cable or mark to cut. So yeah, I'll put the springs in the description, and you can just find your own winch online. It's a 3,000 pound. I wouldn't suggest to go any lighter than that, maybe 2,500 at the least. For a smaller plow, probably just fine, but since this is a 72 inch, it's a little bit big. I'll put an extra flap on here if you're wondering why it's so droopy, because it sticks up like this all the time and the snow just comes right over. So put that on there too this year. But yes, it is working perfectly, and now I'm going to go over to one of the trees we have around here and stress test it. I'm going to force it to hopefully not break. And if it can handle that, well, then it's set. Yep, there's another shot of the design for anyone that's wanting to make it. I'm very proud of it. It only took me probably to have all this, besides for like, you know, having like 6 different designs and versions. It would have not taken me so long, just because I was chimping around with the old smaller, and I only had a 1/2 inch bolt here instead. And I had so many braces welded to it, it got so hot, it just got so brittle, it broke. So there's your design.